Dippy, the Diplodocus, has been an ambassador for the Natural History Museum for over 100 years. From 1979 to 2017, it stood majestically in Hinsey Hall and welcomed millions of visitors as they entered the museum and started their natural history adventure in South Kensington. For many, with Dippy standing at 4.5 metres tall and over 22 metres long, it is safe to say that it makes an impression on you, as it would have been an impressive animal when alive. In recent years, Dippy has been on an adventure of its own. It went on a nationwide roadshow to meet some more of its adoring fans. Over 2 million visitors flocked to see it, from Dorchester in the south to Glasgow in the north, and from Belfast in the west to Norwich in the east. Dippy made a homecoming return to the museum in 2022, before preparing to visit its new temporary home in Coventry. Whilst Dippy was back with us, our scientists and conservators used this time to work with Dippy to create an exciting new attraction for the museum.
What's happening here is really exciting because we've got Dippy in pieces at the moment, and we're doing a really exciting project where we are scanning every single bone, the whole surface of Dippy, so that we can make a 3D reconstruction virtually, and we can use that data to design and build a Diplodocus for our gardens in bronze.
As part of the museum's Urban Nature project, the outside space at South Kensington is being transformed, and a new Diplodocus specimen would be one of the star attractions.
So when our visitors come to the museum and they come in through our east gardens, possibly from the underground station, they will go on a geological history through time, and we want to take them on this special journey showing rocks and fossils going way back to the beginning of when the planet formed. And the Diplodocus bronze sculpture that we'll have there is going to represent this amazing dinosaur in the Jurassic. So we will do special planting around that as well. So our visitors will feel like they're in a Jurassic garden seeing a Diplodocus.
Before this becomes a reality, there's still a lot of work to do. Digitising the complete skeleton of a Diplodocus creates its own problems.
Dippy is quite a big dinosaur, over 22 metres long, nearly 25 if you uncurl the tail, 4.5 metres high nearly, and comes apart in several pieces, over 86 pieces, 292 bones. And so it's a big project. And when you take a dinosaur apart, it takes up an awful lot more space. So in this area, we've got 13 crates with pieces of Dippy in. It's behind me, we've got, for instance, some of the tail. And so this is a big exercise, and you've got to have specialist lifting equipment, and you have to really think about how and where you're putting the individual pieces, making sure that they're safe while you're scanning them. So it's a big project, and we need to be quite creative in how we're doing it.
But how do you scan a Diplodocus?
The smaller parts of the specimen that we can physically lift up and move quite easily, things like the ribs, the chevrons, and the feet that you can see here, we take them up, bring them on and work on this workbench with them. You can see it's covered in lots of little reflective dots, and that's how the scanner tracks its location as I'm moving it around. For a larger specimen that we can't lift up onto the bench, we have to apply the dots onto the surface of it, do the scan, and then remove them all. So the way a structured light scanner works, it's basically a camera and a projector that are handheld, and you can move around the object. The projector projects a sort of grid pattern on, and the software knows what that pattern looks like on a flat surface, so it can measure the way the pattern stretches and deforms over a curved surface and use that to reconstruct what that shape really is. The dots are there to help the equipment track its position as I move around it. They're placed on very much at random, so the distance and angle between each pair of dots will be unique, kind of like a star constellation. And the software can use that to work out where it is and which direction it's facing in. We get a proprietary file from that, which is unique to the software we're using with the scanner. The processing procedure is where we merge scans together to give a full coverage of the object, patch any little holes that are there, and then output that in a format that is much more common and much more easy to read. We can share that with the Bronze Foundry and with any other collaborators who would be interested in working with the data. In terms of the time this will take, we're allowing 6 weeks for the whole process. Quite a lot of that is taken up with physically moving and handling and opening boxes. After that's finished is when the real work starts, which will be several months of data processing back in the lab with people working remotely. That's, with any scanning project, a much larger part of the work than the time we spend on site with the specimen.
Modern techniques, for instance, using the scanning process from our point of view is really good because it's what we call non-interventive. You're not actually covering the surface in moulding material. You're actually just going over the surface without touching it, and you're capturing all of that data. And then you can use that to make a digital 3D reconstruction. You can make it any size you want. You can make a copy any size you want. So you can have tiny Dippies or life-size Dippies, as we want to do here.
Using this scanning method, it means that we're able to share that data much more easily. Instead of shipping huge moulds or huge cast pieces around, we can share the data digitally with people far more easily. It can be a little bit more versatile in terms of what we do with it as well, in that scan data can be used for scientific analysis as well as for constructing a replica.
Scanning data on these dinosaur bones is always a really good thing to do because you can start to look at things like the biomechanics. You can look at maybe how the tail was it down, was it up? All of this sorts of data can help, and the scanning itself, you capture really fine detail on the bone itself. So this is all really helpful for people who do sort of bioengineering, etc. So you'll always learn something new when you do scanning, for sure.
What does it mean to the people working on this project? And what effect will it have on the visitors?
I think it's lovely looking at this process, this history that the Dippy has as an object. Our surface scanning is adding to that. It's the present day continuation of those sorts of procedures. And the bronze cast, when that is the next step, will be continuing that story.
So the public will really enjoy the experience of almost being in a Jurassic garden and seeing this huge dinosaur up close and personal. And I really hope that this Diplodocus is going to really be an amazing experience for them, but also they will be just as fond of that as well as our own beautiful Dippy here.
Indeed, the next stage has already begun, with the scans for the new Diplodocus being interpreted at the Bronze Foundry.